The next part of the work is all about reading strategies. So we're going to have a look at different things we ought to be doing when we're reading at entry level 3. First, we ought to have a vocabulary book, a word book, a book that we keep of our own, that when we're reading, we write down the words that we want to use in our own writing. And as part of that vocabulary book, you could add words that you don't know to start off with. Oh, I'm reading my newspaper. I don't know what that word means. I'll look it up, add it to my vocabulary book, and then try it in my writing. Because when we use words in that way, that's how we improve our writing. So, first of all, do you use a vocabulary word book? Secondly, you need to think about the context of the sentences that you're reading. That means when you find a word that you don't understand, have a look at the sentence and try to work out what it might mean. So here we have a sentence. When I won the talent contest, I was so jubilant that I had a big celebration. Now, if you don't know what the word jubilant means, you could think about it being a celebration and a happy time, and that might make you decide that that word is about being happy. So sometimes you're working out the meaning of the word without really knowing if that's the true meaning, and that's part of developing your reading. You might also want to have a look at particular words and think about, how do I work out what they mean? So on your screen there's a start of a letter. And what do we always start a letter with? Yes, the word dear. But it doesn't start the letter off with the word dear. It says, beloved John. So you could try and work out, that must have something to do with being similar to the word dear. And it has the word love in it. So I can kind of guess that it has a similar meaning and that it's talking about the way I feel about somebody. And that's how you work out meaning. So use parts of words to help you understand meaning. The other thing you need to do at entry level 3 is have a look at your sentence order and use the rest of the sentence to help understand the word. So the sentence is, I had to transport the goods from one shop to another. And if you're not sure, remember that when we use the phrase I had to, the next word is going to be a verb or an action word. So you can guess that transport is an action. So that's going to help you guess that you had to take the goods somewhere. And one of the things that's very important to remember is the difference between fiction and non-fiction. So make sure that you have written down, or you have a list, or you've taken a screenshot of the words that you use when you talk about fiction and the words that you use when you talk about non-fiction. Because remember, fiction isn't real. It's all about stories that we read for enjoyment, or we write to make our readers enjoy something. And non-fiction is all about facts and information that we can learn, and they are two very different things, so please don't get those two confused. And what I want you to look at next is, what websites could you use online to support your reading? Here's a really good one, dreamreader.net, has some really good pieces of reading and some tasks that you can do to check your reading. I'm just going to show you through a task now so that you can see what I mean. I've taken off this site a piece of writing that's all about food and health myths. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs all about food. So you read through that information, you use the strategies that you know to work out what's the key information in there, and then there's a worksheet that you can use. And I really love this worksheet. Let me show you what it looks like. It's a vocabulary study worksheet, and this is online, but you can make one of your own, and it's a chart that just includes what's the word. And I like the part where it says word in your own language, because that's a really good way that you can learn some of the English words that you're not sure about. Very important definition. And then there's a sentence. How do I use that word in a sentence? And most importantly, next to that, try your own sentence. So you're trying to use the word. And I think what's really important is a knowledge rating scale. It's for you to decide, do you know this word well? Have you heard it before? Or have you never seen or heard this word before? And you can add some notes or pictures about that. And when you keep these study worksheets, you can apply them to any piece of reading, and it really helps you develop your vocabulary. So let's have a look at an empty chart that you could make yourself. So you could write your own. I really do like the structure of this one, but you could decide you wanted to add in extra information. And when I talked about a vocabulary book earlier on, I think this would make an ideal replacement. So you're keeping a vocabulary book, but you're adding in extra information about it, and you're really learning independently once you get to the stage of creating this type of chart. And this is a reminder of the website, dreamreader.net. And that's the end of today's lesson. So the next work will be the next stage, which will be level 1. So you can either revise the entry 3 work again, or you can just dip into level 1 and have a look at what the differences are. Bye now.